The day I turned 20, my parents told me to get out. No warning, no discussion, just me, a worn duffel bag, and $70 in my pocket. "You're a disappointment," my father said, his voice cold as steel, watching me drag my bag down the long cobblestone driveway of our Georgian estate in Savannah, Georgia. "No son of mine is going to waste his life chasing music instead of law school," he added, adjusting the cuff of his designer shirt. My mother stood just behind him, arms crossed, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the soft April sunlight. "We've given you every opportunity, Lucas," she said, as if my entire life had been some generous investment I'd just failed to repay. But every so-called gift had come with a condition. The piano lessons I adored were only allowed because they were impressive for college admissions. The guitar my grandmother had given me was confiscated the first time I skipped a mock trial meeting to write songs. Even the community music program I volunteered at had been shut down in their eyes because it wasn't respectable enough. I stopped at the end of the driveway. Behind me, the white columns and perfect hedges of the home I'd grown up in felt less like comfort and more like a cage I'd finally been forced out of. Freedom at 20, with no money, no degree, and no plan, was as frightening as it was intoxicating. That's when Aunt Evelyn pulled up. I hadn't noticed her car, sleek, silver, and quiet, parked just down the street. Evelyn was my father's younger sister, the family's self-made outlier. While my father had followed the expected path into corporate law, she'd built a thriving indie record label from scratch, signing artists no one believed in until she proved them right. "Get in," she said, lowering her sunglasses as she pulled alongside me. I always liked Aunt Evelyn. She didn't care about appearances, she cared about people. Even now, in her tailored leather jacket and red-soled heels, she radiated warmth. "They're wrong about you, Lucas," she said once I was in the passenger seat. "Music isn't just noise or rebellion. It's how you tell the truth the world refuses to hear." That day shifted the course of my life. Evelyn didn't just give me a room in her high-rise apartment overlooking the Savannah River. She gave me a direction. She listened when I played, not to judge, but to understand. She pushed me to apply to a small arts conservatory in New Orleans, one she had quietly funded for years. While my parents told anyone who would listen that I'd run away to avoid responsibility, Evelyn watched me record my first EP in her spare bedroom. She introduced me to designers who needed original scores for their fashion shows, filmmakers looking for soundtracks, and a music tech startup that wanted my help creating immersive audio experiences. It turned out my creativity wasn't a liability, it was my leverage. And in time, the songs I wrote, the same ones my parents had once called a waste of time, would not only pay the bills, but headline festivals. I didn't just find freedom that day. I found the one person who believed I could build a life on my own terms. And I've been doing it ever since. For 5 years, I thrived. I graduated at the top of my class from the New Orleans Conservatory of Music, then joined Aunt Evelyn's record label, Riverlight Sound, as a creative director. I designed immersive audio experiences that transformed how people connected to music. My parents never called, not once. No congratulations, no how are you, nothing. Their silence hurt, but Evelyn's pride mended those wounds. "You're exactly where you're meant to be," she'd say, watching me work late into the night on album launches and interactive concert designs. What I didn't know was that she was sick. Terminal pancreatic cancer, diagnosed just 6 months earlier. She never let it slow her down. She still came into the office every day, still mentored young artists, still fought with industry executives over creative freedom. The day she died, I lost more than my aunt. I lost the only real parent I'd ever had. Her funeral was exactly as she would have wanted, elegant, heartfelt, and focused on the life she lived, not the illness that took her. I sat in the front row, wearing the tailored black suit she'd bought me for my first major industry gala, trying to hold back tears as one person after another spoke about her brilliance, kindness, and relentless vision. That's when I saw them. My parents walked into the church like they owned it. My mother in a pristine morning dress paired with diamonds, my father in a custom-tailored suit that looked as expensive as it did joyless. They hadn't aged well, Money might buy style, but it couldn't erase the bitterness carved into their faces. Their eyes locked on me, narrowing. "Lucas," my mother cooed, her voice sticky sweet with hypocrisy. "We've been so worried." I almost laughed. 5 years of silence, and now they were worried. "What are you doing here?" I asked, keeping my tone even. Evelyn had taught me how to stay composed under pressure. "The white body, she was my sister," my father said flatly. "Of course we're here. And you, it's time to come home, son. This little rebellious phase has gone on long enough." Before I could answer, a tall woman in an immaculate charcoal suit stepped forward. "Mr. Holt," she said, looking directly at me. "I'm Victoria Chen, your aunt's personal attorney. The will reading will begin shortly in the private chamber. Please follow me." The shift in my parents' expressions was immediate. "Will reading?" My father's voice sharpened with interest. "We're her only living relatives. Well, aside from Lucas, but surely." Victoria's professional smile didn't waver, though I caught the faintest flicker of something like satisfaction in her eyes. "All will be explained shortly," she said. "Please, come with me." The private chamber felt too small for the tension pressing in. My parents sat across from me, restless and expectant, as if they were about to receive exactly what they believed they deserved. I knew better, because Evelyn never played by their rules, and I had a feeling today would be no exception. If you think my parents are about to get exactly what they came for, think again. Subscribe now so you don't miss the moment the lawyer opens Evelyn's will, because that's when everything changes. My parents sat across from me, feigning concern, though their eyes kept flicking toward the slim leather folder in Victoria Chen's hands. I reached for the silver guitar pick pendant Aunt Evelyn had given me on my last birthday, engraved with 2 words. "Play loud." "Before we begin," Victoria said, glancing my way, "Mr. Holt, would you mind showing me your necklace?" My parents exchanged a confused look as I pulled the pendant over my head. Victoria examined it closely, then nodded and set it on the table in front of me. "Now," she said, voice steady, "I will read the last will and testament of Evelyn Holt, founder and majority shareholder of Riverlight Sound. What happened next would rewrite everything. I, Evelyn Holt, being of sound mind, hereby declare this to be my last will and testament," Victoria began. The air in the room seemed to hum as she continued. "To my brother, Charles Holt, and his wife, Diane Holt." My father leaned forward, anticipation sharp in his eyes. "I leave exactly what they gave my beloved nephew Lucas 5 years ago. $70, and the opportunity to walk away." The room erupted. "This is outrageous," my father barked, his voice climbing. "I'm her only sibling." Victoria didn't pause. "To my nephew, Lucas Holt, I leave my entire estate, including, but not limited to, my controlling shares in Riverlight Sound, valued at $2,400,000,000, all domestic and international properties, my complete investment portfolio, and full ownership of Holt Media Group." My mother's hand froze on her designer handbag before it slipped from her grip and landed on the carpet with a muted thud. "That's impossible," she whispered. Victoria's voice was calm but unyielding. "Furthermore, I hereby name Lucas Holt as my successor, effective immediately as CEO of Riverlight Sound and president of Holt Media Group." The guitar pick in front of me suddenly felt heavier. I realized in that moment that Evelyn hadn't just been mentoring me. She'd been preparing me. The late nights poring over artist contracts, the label strategy meetings she insisted I sit in on, the music law courses she nudged me into, they had all been part of my training. "This is absurd," my father snapped, surging to his feet so quickly his chair toppled backward. "He's just a kid who writes songs. He can't run a global company." Victoria opened another folder, sliding a document toward him. "Actually, Mr. Holt, Lucas has been running Riverlight Sound's creative direction division for the past year, increasing artist engagement by 50% and nearly doubling quarterly streaming revenue. Your sister kept extensive records of his contributions." My mother shifted tactics instantly, her face melting into a mask of maternal concern. "Sweetheart, she said softly, reaching for my hand. This is such a heavy burden for someone so young. Let us help you. We're family after all. Met her eyes, my voice quiet but steady. Family doesn't throw their son out with $70 and call it love. Family doesn't throw their son out for following his dreams, I said evenly. Aunt Evelyn was my family. Lucas, my father's tone dropped into something colder, heavier. Think very carefully about what you're doing. We'll contest this will. You're not prepared for this responsibility. Victoria Chen smiled for the first time that morning. A small, knowing smile. Evelyn anticipated this reaction. She reached into her folder and pulled out a small black flash drive. This contains 5 years of documented attempts by both of you to access Evelyn's accounts without authorization, including forged documents bearing her signature. She kept everything. She also recorded your attempts to bribe members of the Riverlight Sound Board to vote against your son's projects. My parents went pale, the fight draining from their faces. Additionally, Victoria continued, there's a letter here for you, Lucas. She handed me a cream envelope, my name written in Evelyn's elegant handwriting. I felt the familiar ache in my chest as I broke the seal. My dearest Lucas, if you're reading this, then everything has unfolded just as I expected. Your parents have revealed themselves once again. But you, my brilliant boy, you are ready for this. More ready than you believe. I didn't choose you as my heir because you are my nephew. I chose you because, in the past 5 years, you have shown every quality of a true leader. Your music isn't a weakness. It's your greatest strength. You see beauty where others see noise. You understand that art, like business, should serve people, not the other way around. The pendant you wear isn't just sentimental. In my private safe combination is your birthday. You'll find everything you need to know about the company, including projects I've kept hidden from the board. One of them, Project Echo, will change everything. Your parents never understood that true wealth isn't about money. It's about leaving the world better than you found it. Don't let anyone convince you you're not ready. You've been ready since the day you refused to betray yourself, even when it cost you everything. All my love. Aunt Evelyn. P.S. The safe also contains evidence of your father's involvement in certain questionable legal dealings. Use it only if you must. I folded the letter with care, feeling a quiet resolve settle over me. When I looked up, my parents were whispering in sharp, urgent tones. Mrs. Chen, I said clearly, my voice steady, please have security escort my parents from the premises and prepare legal documents barring them from entering any Riverlight Sound property. You ungrateful, my father began. I'm not finished, I cut in. Also prepare a press release announcing my appointment as CEO and schedule a board meeting for tomorrow morning. My mother's lips thinned into a dangerous smile. You'll regret this, she hissed as security arrived. We're not finished. Actually, we are finished, I said, channeling every ounce of Aunt Evelyn's poise. I turned to my father. Oh? And Dad, I'm sure the State Bar would be very interested in what Project Echo uncovered about your off-the-record legal dealings. The color drained from both their faces. Security escorted them out without another word. When the doors closed, Victoria Chen gave me a small, genuine smile. Your aunt would be proud. The board meeting is already set for 9 a.m. tomorrow. The members you've worked with in creative direction are ready to stand behind you. Do it. That evening, I sat alone in Aunt Evelyn's office, my office now, the city lights of Savannah glittering through the tall windows. Her framed portrait hung on the wall, her eyes sharp yet warm. The safe yielded exactly what she'd promised in her letter: company records, Project Echo's full plans, and enough evidence to make sure my parents would never get near me or the company again. A year later, Riverlight Sound officially launched Project Echo, a groundbreaking platform that made high-quality music production tools accessible to any artist, regardless of budget or background. The press called it industry-changing. The board called it our proudest achievement. My father called his lawyer, but by then his license to practice law had already been revoked. My mother tried calling me once. The week our stock value tripled, her number was already blocked. The silver guitar pick still hangs around my neck, but I don't need it to remember who I am anymore. I'm Lucas Holt, CEO of Riverlight Sound, and like Aunt Evelyn, I believe in using influence to lift others up, not to make them feel small. Sometimes, late at night, while I'm in my office surrounded by drafts, contracts, and half-finished song arrangements, I swear I can feel her presence behind me, watching, approving. She taught me that real success isn't about proving your critics wrong, it's about proving yourself right. As for my parents, last I heard they downsized to a modest home outside the city. Apparently living on image and credit only works for so long. But I don't dwell on them anymore. I'm too busy building the future Evelyn believed I could create. The kid who writes songs just changed the music industry. I've learned that sometimes the people who are supposed to love you the most are the very ones who try to define you, limit you, and even break you when you refuse to live by their rules. My parents thought throwing me out with $70 would be the end of my story. They believed my passion for music was a weakness, something that would lead me to failure. But what they didn't understand is that when you have even one person who believes in you, like my Aunt Evelyn, you can build an entirely new life on your own terms. To everyone hearing my story, I want you to know this: your dreams are worth fighting for, even when others tell you they're impossible or unworthy. Don't let anyone convince you to shrink just to fit into their expectations. If someone refuses to see your value, that's not your failure. It's their limitation. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to grow, not those who clip your wings. I'd love to hear from you. What moments in your life made you realize your worth? Have you ever had to walk away from people who didn't believe in you? Share your thoughts below, not just for me, but for everyone who needs that reminder that they're not alone. If you take one thing from my journey, let it be this: never trade your authenticity for approval. The world doesn't need a watered-down version of you. It needs your truth, your vision, your fight. Because one day, the very thing they mocked might be the reason you win. And when that day comes, stand tall, not for revenge, but as proof that you believed in yourself when it mattered most. That's the kind of victory no one can take away.